Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overwatch League for your Easter Sunday. I am Mitch Leslie and once again it's me and Matthew Morello taking you home here with 3 huge games here to get through today.
Yeah, I feel like we're the Sunday crew now. Every Sunday we're here doing all 3 matches, but this week...
Would you say any given Sunday, Matt?
True.
Yeah?
You could very well say that. This Sunday we have really good games back to back, starting off with Houston versus Toronto.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is an interesting match now because Houston have already shown that they're pretty comfortable with this particular hero pool, Matt. We have seen over the last, few months that people have said, look, the best teams are really going to be the ones that thrive as much as possible in the meta at that time. And, Johnny called it out quite well, I think, in his predictions yesterday, that they would be able to show a little bit more of their ability. Now, their opposition was the Boston Uprising. This time, I think their opposition will be a little stiffer because Toronto has already shown that they like to play an Orisa-centric style. They were playing that sort of in week 1 of hero pools when there was sort of 2 different schools of thought. This should be more natural for Toronto.
Right, I mean, we'll see what Toronto has today. We haven't seen great performances from them through the course of their early season. Houston, I think looked good yesterday against Boston. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But Toronto, I think they have a lot to prove today. I think this is a matchup where both of these teams, I still feel like, are kind of equal in terms of where they are in terms of standing in the league. And I think if Toronto wants to prove that all these new additions really paid off, this is a series they should be able to win.
Yeah. Houston having bounced back now after a 3-match loss streak. Let's have a look at our map pool for today, ladies and gentlemen. Nepal will be our first of the series. Then Numbani, Paris, Rialto, and Lijiang Tower there. If we need it, of course, we'll tack on some control maps. We have seen that Houston like to play longer series at times, and that might be an option here. But
I feel like it
Nepal
will be.
is Nepal's one of their best maps, though, for Houston. Control is... in general, one of their stronger performing categories, and Nepal is definitely their wheelhouse. So they should feel okay going into that.
And then I think to talk about Houston's lineup a little bit, to start this one off, they'll have Linkser in yet again. He looked good yesterday. It's good to see Linkser back playing in general. It was kind of weird seeing him not in the lineup. Like, I think Blase is a good player, but Linkser's really been like a standout performer for the Outlaws since day 1. So to see him back in the lineup's great. And then Repel for Raucus. Both of these players have been kind of switched out early on in the season for each other. Didn't really know. They're both playing the same things and they've been in as well. So it doesn't really seem like there was really much of a reason why they were opting back and forth, but we'll get a look at Repel today.
Yeah, we've seen teams make sort of some switches up in their rosters that haven't always made sense. Sometimes it's just a one-to-one switch, right? Player in a certain role. It could honestly be a matter of the maps that they practiced on. Teams, generally speaking, probably have a bit more time to practice right now, even though their opposition pool is much more limited than it was when we were, operating out of the arena in Los Angeles, right? All the teams are there. Now, it's a little bit more selective. Now, it's a little bit more about who is in the same division as you and is geographically close enough to get your sort of worthwhile scrims. So that's interesting as well, because all of our regions have the opportunity to develop their own sort of meta within that week of time that teams have.
In the Asia region, you've seen a lot of different things than you've seen here in the Atlantic and North America. And I expect that to continue when you have the Chengdu Hunters just doing whatever they're doing out there. They're just playing anything.
Their play seemed to make a little bit more sense. I think Jinmu on the Doomfist was an interesting showing, what we saw from him. But obviously you see players like Amon still want to play Reinhardt, with an Orisa. Elsa's playing the Orisa this time instead of, something like a Diva or a Sigma. So they're trying their own thing. I'm very interested to see what happens if we get these regions to collide later on in the year.
Yes.
Because all these different takes, this all builds up week after week. And we saw this at the very inception of Overwatch, before the Overwatch League, where regions would have a very strict understanding of what they would play, with the exception of the Chinese region, who often played sort of a little bit more off the wall, a little bit more aggressive. But we're seeing a lot of diversity there. Our teams that are based in North America have tended to trend towards just sort of sticking with that one composition, a safer one.
I do wonder how things develop in North America specifically, because you have a few teams on the West Coast, a few teams in Central, and then a lot on the East Coast. And I know in the past, when teams have been pretty poor, it's been difficult for them to find scrims against some of the upper echelon of teams. How will the top of the Atlantic progress to get better? You can't get better by only scrimming 1 or 2 other people. So are you going to help or have to play some of the lower tier teams in the Atlantic Division to just try and get practice in general? how is that going to operate? Because that type of practice really only helps the team that's trying to climb their way up, doesn't really help the team at the top. So I think staying up top in the Atlantic and really kind of keeping that momentum going and keeping your play high is going to be much harder than whether it be like the Asian region, where I feel like there are a lot of good teams.
That's right. I mean, that's something to consider here. You can't scrim other teams if you don't have internet. And right now, that seems to be a little bit of an issue for the Houston Outlaws. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a quick break while we get Houston's issues sorted out. Perhaps they're just chewing up too much bandwidth on other sides of the house. But when we return, our first match of the Sunday will be underway. It will be Houston and Toronto. So stick with us. We'll be back when the players are sorted. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those that are wondering, we have a little bit of a delay in proceedings today because Houston is currently experiencing some rolling blackouts. Now, whether that's because of weather issues or not, Jexa got boomed entirely out of the server. And in fact, his PC had some sad times. So he's working on getting back into the game. I'm told that everything seems to be going fine there. But as the day continues, we may anticipate more technical issues coming from their corner. We'll keep you posted on that stuff, but for now, it looks like they have 6 players in the set.
Yeah, they have 6 players in the lobby. Now, we will see how long that lasts.
We are setting expectations, everybody.
Not promising you that they're here the whole time. They may end up leaving for a bit. We'll see. Seems like the players are ready. They want to just jump right into this, which I totally get. If they're having internet issues, they probably don't want to sit in the lobby for any longer than they probably have to. They want to jump straight into the game and see if they can get it all sorted out.
Well, in fairness, Jexa just got into the lobby. The rest of his teammates are the ones waiting. He got into the lobby and face-rolled his keyboard, just trying to make sure everyone knew that he was ready to play. We are ready to see you and your team play, Jexa. Now, the head-to-head matchup between these two franchises sees the Houston Outlaws at 2-1 so far. So the Defiant not only a chance to continue to work on their streak, but also to even the score between these teams. And if you just join us, our first map of this series is going to be Nepal. It is actually, I think I mentioned this before, this is the Outlaws' best control map historically. They've got a 66.7% win rate, and it's their second best map of any type. So as a Houston fan, this is where you wanted to see your team starting in a meta. That's been good.
I didn't realize you were so much of a stats guy.
Yeah, I'm actually just reading a sheet that has stats on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm a reading guy. And in fairness, we had a bit of time to fill, so I had some time to, do my homework. We should always do our homework here, Matt.
Look, I never did my homework. I was one of those kids who was excellent. I put in minimal amount of time, and I was getting B's, and that was all right with me.
Yeah, and now you're sat in your office talking about video games for a living. Let that be a lesson to everybody at home, but we're out of the gates here. Toronto versus Houston. Compositionally, we see Logic's here on, the Torbjorn. Now,
the legendary
there's no trace to counter with this, Matt. It's slightly different comps we're seeing.
I mean, look, double shield on both sides. A little bit more aggressive from the Toronto side with the Reinhardt. Then having the Sigma, where the Outlaws, they're really playing like a control game, trying to break shields with the Hangzhou in as well. But the Torbjorn is going to be interesting here. How you set the Torbjorn up, where the positioning of that turret's going to be.
I mean, the Outlaws have been really reluctant to push out, Matt. They are playing quite heavily around a main tank Orisa, whereas the Defiant actually have a Reinhardt and Orisa to work with here. Less mobile, sure, less ability to shut down flankers, but look at the aggressiveness from Beast. He pushes in. Point gets captured now to start by the Outlaws, and Agilities is trying to help his team gang up on Meko. The Defiant definitely had a target in mind, but in chasing them down, they lose a couple players. Agility's getting rid of Lynx through the middle of the map, and the Outlaws have to give this ground up.
The Defiant, they give up the point early, but they push through with that Reinhardt, and they get extremely aggressive, and that's what you need to do with the Rein in this type of composition. The Sigma one, they want to sit around the point, they want to play around the May. Muma, who gets onto the point first, they take control of it for an extended period, but they're not able to hold it because of the aggression that comes through to the rest of the Outlaws team.
It looks like the slower start from Houston ended up hurting them there. It was easy for Toronto to identify where the Sigma was, and they made a beeline for Meko. Now the Outlaws are going to be shut out for a little while. It's tough to break back into this map against double shield. Maywall will cover off the right-hand side, and Evix gets blown up. Beast, though, that's the Amplification Matrix and Fire Strike combo.
I was going to say, it's a nice volley of orbs from Repel through the Amp Matrix that sets up the Outlaws to get that first pick off, but then Beast with the Fire Strike, and then one swing of the hammer. They're able to get 3 kills off of that, which will keep the point in the Defiant's favor. And now that the Defiant, they have control of these chokes, this makes it very difficult with the May and the Torbjorn, right? You're going to have Blizzard coming on here soon. You're going to have Molten Core as well. Be a Blizzard from Agilities that opens it up. A nice May wall, and they lock Meko in place.
Meko trying to push forward a little bit now. Muma is extremely out of position, and he won't get back to the rest of his team. Rather close to freedom, but getting cut down there is less than ideal. So Houston work with no tanks for the time being. They have the ultimates they need to break back in. They do have both DPS ultimates. Transcendence is also available here, but I mean, this is a conundrum against double shield. How many casualties do you have to take to even get onto the point to contest it?
I mean, we'll see from the Outlaws POV. You see Meko putting the shield out on Sigma. This is just going to create space. This Dragon Strike from Linkser. Beast gets low, and they let him walk away?
Yep, gets back to the point. He was even halted into some of that Dragon Strike. Now, Beast eventually drops down. Very split from Nevix. You see, he's just holding his own pivot point here on the left, and I don't think that... Yeah, well, the Fortify gets him out of trouble, to be fair. Molten Core is thrown down by the Defiant defensively, but it's an offensive Blizzard from Dante, and now he showers underneath that Immortality Field, but he's taken down. Yes, the Immortality Field expired, and the Molten Core eventually got him. Dante must have forgotten where he was standing because he had that Immortality. Huge shatter. That 3 now, but a Transcendence immediately is going to get brought in there by Repel. A hefty, a meaty shatter from Beast. That is 99-33 in Toronto. We're looking to take the point back. Jax's in trouble.
Yeah, as Toronto's going to come back with the Lucio on spawn as well. Kellex, he'll have a sound barrier if need be, but won't even need it here. As Dante coming out, he's going to have to ice block just to stay alive. And this should be the Toronto Defiant putting it away, but Meko's able to get one.
Eventually taken down. It was Logic's turret that deals with the Wrecking Ball, and Toronto starts strong. Reinhardt and Orisa giving the Outlaws some problems. They want to bring a Sigma in, Matt. And we've seen quite a few teams do that. Very powerful in his own right, of course, having accretion to deal with anyone flanking. But that's not what the Defiant are trying to do. They are going together. They are playing a deathball comp, and it's probably tough for Meko to get value on Sigma.
I think the biggest difference, right, is where the Toronto Defiant, they did a nice job of just speed boosting Beast Halo around on the Reinhardt, getting him in positions to actually do stuff, because with the composition the Outlaws are running, when they control the point and they have that Orisa Sigma, it's very difficult for the Rein to get anything going if he can't get into place without taking tons of damage up front. So with Lucio in Reinhardt, they're able to keep the Reinhardt topped up, but also fast and agile to the point. So we see they'll go with the Rein Orisa again, and the Outlaws will make a change, go Rein Orisa 2. Symmetra on both sides here as well.
Meko on the Orisa. I've seen pretty much everything now. Wall up in the middle, but Linksa still wants to try and circumvent it. Now back to playing around his Reinhardt shield as he's rather vulnerable if he gets ahead of it. He went low. Kellex is able to deal with Repel here, and Linksa is fired up. He needs some shields to sort of keep him charged up, otherwise he has to reload like that. And he's trying to make his way forward here. The classic aggressiveness of Jex that is able to get him a kill, but a cheeky double turret behind by Logix snaps the kill up on Linksa. Meko keeps himself alive for just a moment, but Logix pushes past the bubble.
And I really love that Maywall from Agilities there. Is the Toronto Defiant, they put down some damage. Kellex actually gets a kill on the Repel. And what they decide to do is they Maywall, they back up a little bit, they buy some time. They also dwindle the power of Linkser's gun, as we saw from his point of view. And then they're able to just re-engage once the Maywall goes down. Really nice Maywall from Agilities yet again. Catches Muma, just not able to follow it up.
Muma kept his shield up, nicely done. Beast was looking for a big shatter again, but now he's going to be frozen up. Wall put up, it's going to be an Immortality Field from the Outlaws here, but they need to back away. And they are going to use that Symmetra barrier just to make this more comfortable. Agilities, though, has Blizzard available. There's the shatter, it is, and that is filth. Muma steps straight through the barrier and gets himself at least 4 with that shatter. Over to the point we go. And the Houston Outlaws now in a much more commanding position.
Yeah, Muma goes through the TP and immediately lands a shatter there. So Linkser puts a TP up onto the bridge. Muma right away clicks on it, turns to his side, lands a shatter. But still 40% earned for Toronto at the beginning. We'll see how they go about breaking this setup now, as both teams have committed to this Symmetra. Symmetra has become very powerful against obviously double shields, but also on this point in particular.
Teleport to the high ground for the Defiant. They mean business. They're forced to drop down though as they see the supercharger used, and the Outlaws may be happy enough to use that ult to deny the high ground. Muma caught behind the wall, that shield disintegrating quickly under Logic's scrutiny, and he'll fall to a fire strike. Beast controlling the front line, and Logix is making it so there are no shields for the Outlaws to hide behind. That's a heck of a lot of damage to output. It's because he kept himself safe. Over time, that Symmetra becomes an absolute menace,
but you also notice how Toronto went about attacking that, right? They didn't take the high ground fight right away. They went up to the high ground, they drawed them off, and then what they did is they dropped. They were able to set the Symmetra up on the point, which is extremely effective. It's what a lot of teams, usually are used to do with control. And then what happens is the Outlaws try and rush in, they get split up by a Maywall. Now the Outlaws try and push in again.
Dante still gets there though, so he's able to control some of the Defiant's front line. Logix now, gonna throw his wall up, but that's a shatter, it's huge! It's 5 knockdown for the Houston Outlaws. The Reinhardts on the other side of the map are getting a ton of value, but it's the rest of Beast's comrades that are enabling him to do it. The Defiant now are up to 80%, and they wanted the Outlaws to TP in, Matt. They were ready for that.
And they have a sound barrier for this next fight, the Toronto Defiance. They're in a great spot to put this first map away. rather quickly, almost effortlessly.
90% on the ticket.
TP across.
All right, splits the Defiant. They don't all go there. Dante can't get in though, and Muma's caught behind a wall, and that's it. That's the death knell. The Outlaws again try and get close to the point by using a teleporter, but it's predictable. It's very telegraphed, and the Defiant just wait for Muma to show his spiky helmeted head, and they cut him off the rest of his team. Map number 1, pretty comfortably, Matt, to the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, extremely comfortable from the Toronto Defiant. And there was never a point during that where you felt like the Outlaws were in a position to take an extended period of time on the point or even really make a good push for it, as the Outlaws look really disjointed after looking good against Boston the other day.
Do you think, Matt, that the Outlaws come into this match wanting to play the Sigma and then they have realized very quickly that that is just not going to work on a map like Nepal?
I think the
does it look like it was intentional, the switch for the second round?
I think the 2 points they got on Nepal were probably ones they needed to switch off onto the Ryan Orisa comp. I think if things could have worked out a little bit differently, maybe with another point in there earlier, they could have actually played it a bit differently.
Well, Toronto, first map in the bag already. They look dominant. The main tanks are giving us a bit of a show today, ladies and gentlemen, so stick around. There'll be more of that, especially with these compositions. Map number 2 is right around the corner, so hold on to your hats, eat some Easter chocolate, and we'll be back in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. And by Zip Chair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League. I'm Mitch Leslie here with Matthew Morello, and that first round, if you blinked, you probably missed it. A quick 2-0 for the Toronto Defiant, and it looked like the Outlaws, Matt, were in a transitional phase. And this is a term that people use to make something that was awful sound a little bit nicer, but the Outlaws couldn't really find their feet, and it looked like Toronto really had the read on them, especially as they tried to reposition with Symmetra teleports.
And you also don't know with some of the issues with the Outlaws in terms of internet, how that played into it. Not really giving them like a huge excuse, but we don't know at this moment in time, as they did have some issues before game 1, but still, they didn't look good. It didn't look close in game number 1. Toronto really took it to them. They were in control of the point most of the time. There was never a time where they were at a huge deficit of ultimates. They were cycling through their ults really effectively, so Toronto looked really good early on.
Yeah, we believe in the benefit of the doubt, but however, we have to analyze what we see. Now, some of the substitutions we see might answer some of those questions for us. There are going to be changes across both teams as we head into our second map. That map's going to be Numbani, for those that are wondering who didn't catch the pre-show. And look, this is actually Houston's best escort map.
You just told me the last one was their best control map, and they got dunked on. What's going to happen now?
I'm setting up the stage here because so the Outlaws. Okay, so
you're in the right sheet this time.
If you play escort maps, right, obviously there's 3 points you can get. We can actually see an average of how many points teams get over the course of their careers or whatever. So the Outlaws actually have an average of 3.25 points on this map, which means obviously they're getting more than a map done each time they play. It's the only map that they average 3 or more points. So on every other sort of escort or hybrid map, they sort of
are these numbers
don't finish
are these numbers all time?
Yeah, all-time franchise record.
But that doesn't do anything to help me now. I mean, look at the meta right now. It's completely different than it's ever been. It changes week to week. You can't really hold stock in that as much anymore.
That's right. But what I'm doing is, setting a historical precedent, and when we can actually evaluate Houston on their ability to exceed that.
Tell it like it is.
You are sneaking your deep-seated hate of stats into conversation with me. That's what you were doing.
I was just giving my opinion on what you said.
Well, for those of you at home that are interested, now you know. Those of you that aren't, you haven't really missed much. You've literally missed teams walking out of sport.
Yes, you haven't really missed much. The Outlaws, they go with a double shield Mei Hanzo setup. That we mentioned, Raucus comes in here, so they do have double flex support. You just don't know, right? We had the issues with Jexay early on. Maybe they continued through that. So we'll see if Raucus, they opt to play some Lucio, or they want to play a little bit slower and play the Baptiste, which it looks like they're going to do early on. And I
mean, Zen Baptiste makes sense against double shields, right? It was very common when we first saw double shield.
Absolutely. I mean, the Baptiste is a good look here against the double shield. It does a ton of damage. Immortality field's great. Amp Matrix as well. So the Defiant, they'll have Surefour, who comes in for Logic's a little bit more, a little bit more versatility, but he actually gets the turret on the other side of the Mei wall, which may have actually just been enough to protect the Beast, keep him alive.
Or at least ward him off from anyone just walking up to him.
Near him.
They broke the wall as well. Now the Defiant are aware the Outlaws are up on the high ground, and Kellex couldn't quite get behind the shield. Well, Nevix sort of put a shield forward, and then the entirety of the Defiant had to climb onto the other side of it. I wonder if Nevix turned around and put a shield, then maybe they saved Kellex there.
But look,
regardless.
The Toronto Defiant, they need to get the high ground here, right? They're just wrapping around, trying to get up here. If they get here with the Torb, they have a chance to just lock the Outlaws on the point.
Yeah, they can set up base here.
This will almost be like their offensive push will turn into defensive positioning with a defensive-looking comp, trying to take the point.
Okay. There's Amp Matrix. Immortality field had to be placed down pretty early on by Raucus on the other side of the breach, and these two teams now are standing at 20 paces and firing with their handguns, old Civil War style. Agilities goes down. Already 2 ticks on the point for Toronto, though. Because of this rotation, the Outlaws are a little bit concerned about stepping foot on the point. But once they've committed, the fight goes pretty well. Beast is hit with the Discord Orb, and there's an Immortality field now placed up, and it's Linksa and Dante from the high ground getting the job done. 3 for Linksa. And once the Outlaws decide to go, everyone seems on the same page. They again stave Toronto.
Yeah, that was a good retake there from the Outlaws as they got bullied off the high ground by the Toronto Defiant, and they're able to come back, take it, and get on the point. Where I think Toronto kind of beefed that is where Beast had an opportunity to push straight through the Orisa shield and just didn't do it. Kind of got stuck in a little bit of a dance on the point. Take a look from Linkser's POV. Nice shots from Linkser. You always expect that, though. I mean, his aim's pretty nuts.
That's the Dragon Strike now. Linkser earned that in the previous fight from doing so much
so
work,
weak.
and everybody gets caught in the flux. Mako making pancakes out of the majority of the Defiant. And that'll be that. Another fight done off the weight of ult advantage.
Linkser, nice headshot on Agilities there. As Surefour, he'll get out of harm's way. So another hold here for the Houston Outlaws. They did end up using some ultimates in that previous fight, a good chunk of them. So they'll just have Supercharger and Transcendence here. Can they speed Beast around, maybe to the high ground, try and get a shatter off? They consistently go low, they get walled, and then they just try and dance around to keep him alive.
They have nothing to safely bait a Mei wall, though, so they have to go together and fast. Okay, that Mei wall is alright. It doesn't actually split Toronto off effectively. It slows them down a little bit, but maybe that's what they want. Surefour turns around with that Molten Core, and makes it a very dangerous place to stand, but Repel was quick on the trigger finger with the Transcendence. He falls, and everyone's going to burn down now!
They had to,
The Outlaws were held in place, man. They had the healing,
Yeah.
which was fine, until Transcendence expired. Then Shawfall gets 3, and they finally break through.
Well, it was also a massive halt that comes in from Nevix, which yoinks them off of the point. And at that time, the Toronto Defiant, they're so close to taking the payload and the checkpoint that the Outlaws have to just run through Surefour's Molten Core, which we saw how that turned out. It wasn't pretty, but really nothing the Outlaws can do there. It's a pretty decent first point hold, though, from Houston.
I mean, the Tourbillon again featuring not because it's countering Tracer, but because, of course, against those heavier armed targets, you're doing more damage. Karib down. Whoa, that was a Sonic arrow there from Linkser. I don't know if he intended to find a kill with that, but we'll take it.
That's the power of Hangzhou. You don't intend to find a kill, and you do.
Well, Karib won't be switching. Kellex is just going to try and taxi him back into the fight as quickly as possible. The Linkser, he was on high alert to respond to the halt. Thrown out by Muma. He'll just sit up
good
here on the
ultimates
ledge.
here for Houston, though, to hold, right? Yeah, you have the Blizzard that you can use in the close quarters. Just look at this. Toronto trying to come fast on a flank. Maybe set up a shatter here, but nice Dragon Strike there from Linkser.
Immortality Field thrown down, but that expires awfully fast. There's still enough to keep Beast up, though. Shawfall's turret is now down, but Beast wants to use this shatter. There's the problem of about a bajillion shields in between him and the enemy, and a May who's going to freeze him up. Dante fates and Beast. His irritation's so great that he goes for the Earth Shatter, and it's easily brushed off by Dante, who then goes for the Blizzard. And that's about as big as an outplay as you're going to see.
Oh, it's a sick play from Dante. I do want to say from the Outlaws, though, their positioning is so much better there than it was on Nepal. So Links are just racking up the headshots. But you saw from Beast's POV, he's trying to push and trying to get one of these shatters off, and they're just not able to close the gap. The positioning from the Outlaws is much better, just playing a little bit further away, out of harm's way, where Beast was able to do nothing on the Rhine. Now they switch and they go for the Eureka Sigma.
This is one of those games from Linkser, Matt. 11 final blows, 2 deaths. That's his second death. And yeah, really starting to dominate, but without him here and without a way to bring him back, might be tough for the Outlaws. They also do not have the Lucio that Kellex had before, so they won't get him back into the fray all that fast either. Nevix actually trying to flank around Dante here. A couple more Hyperspheres will get the job done. Dante is the drop down.
How was he alive?
The Beast wasn't watching him.
Okay.
No one was looking at Dante after a drop.
Yeah.
The intention of the Defiant was split. They still get the Immortality Field here, though, and that Gravitic Flux is shrugged off. Meko finds no luck there.
There was a part of me that thought Dante was going to live through that when he gets the Harmony Orb, but he pushes in through the back. But the Outlaws trying to contest this one final stand here for the Outlaws. Muma will fall. There goes Meko shortly after. Their point B defense falls apart, where they do hold the Toronto Defiant, so under a minute there to take checkpoint B. So they do have a positional an opportunity here to really win the map in terms of not allowing Toronto to finish it. And then, like you mentioned, they've been very good on Numbani. They've been able to complete it pretty frequently. So you think the Outlaws have a good shot at that point.
1 minute 43 on the clock. The Defiant still looking for the next opening. That was not one of them. Raucus throws down that amplification matrix and forces them to split between left and right. And that's what causes Nevix to get caught. Raucus showing off some of his signature aim there. Nice for Batiste to have the moment where they can really be damage outputters.
So the Outlaws, they'll get control of the choke here. That's the massive part for Houston. You can control the choke with the Mei and the double shields. You can also force the Defiant to potentially have to use some of these ultimates to get the cart moving again, right? With a minute to go, you do have a little bit of a nervous factor here for Toronto, where every fight matters to the point where you could end up just losing the half. So you have to invest some of these ultimates rather early.
I think the Toronto were happy to try and move as fast as they can, catch them out. We do see a halt there, but it's going to be a supercharger thrown down by the Outlaws, and they're happy playing close together for now. They get rid of agilities, but they lose movement with Meko being frozen up. Yeah, without those shields in the way, the Mei is a problem. Transcendence now gets used in the Blizzard, so most of the Defiant's front line can stay up and at it. Discord Orb even got stuck to Beast, and he was so low, but Kellex and Karib are keeping that front line alive, hanging in there. It's tooth and nail stuck, but the Defiant are still working with a full 6 until Beast goes down.
And that's a tough player to lose. It's the Outlaws. They had the Transcendence towards the end of that fight to get everybody top back up. Puts them over the line just a little bit, as Meko now with the Gravitic Flux could put it away.
Oh my gosh, that AoE freezing coming out there. It's so brutal, and Dante is abusing Mei to a fullest extent. He is finally punished for that, but at what cost? The Defiant lost 3 to the Mei in that corner, and the Outlaws managed to prevent Toronto from finishing the map.
Now the Outlaws sit in a position, a very good position to tie this up. Going into the half, like you mentioned early on, they average 3.2 points here on Numbani, so that would tell you that they should be able to complete this, and they have with great effect.
All right, we need a rule. Wait, if you're going to tease me for bringing up stats, you're not allowed to reference them later in the broadcast.
You?
Yeah, you did.
When did that happen?
You were like, oh, I don't care about these stats, man.
No,
it doesn't mean anything.
I never.
All right, clip it, guys.
Never did that. Never did that.
All right. Here is those last moments here, though.
Yeah.
Meko's just able to control the backline, and that's what Sigma has really, quite often gone to for. Again, Hyperspheres bouncing in those small chokes are very powerful, but it really is a decrease to stop the Wrecking Ball in its tracks.
And you wonder if Toronto's, I don't want to see main downfall, but really, it's a Torbjorn wasn't incredibly effective to take the first checkpoint. It took a while for the Torb to get going, and Torb is so positionally oriented where you have to have the shields in the right spot, you have to have good spots for the turret to be able to make him work, that until they really got that high ground control and they were able to build that Molten Core and force them into position, they really weren't getting a ton out of it. This is what I'm interested in, though. We'll see Surefour play the Ashe on defense, so you'll have Ashe with Mercy, Dante on the Pharah here to kick things off.
They have to know that Houston is going to be playing this. Yes. Otherwise, this seems a little bit risky. But if anyone is going to play a pick like this with confidence, it's going to be someone like Surefour or Baby Bay. There's guys that really like to take those risks.
Ashe with the damage boost is nasty, though. I mean, you can one-shot like a Pharah, it feels like, right out of the sky. We'll see from Dante's POV. Just trying to put some rockets down into the shields on the backside of the high ground here. Trying to get some damage down to allow the Outlaws to push through the front.
Slow start for Dante. Man, even rocks are getting thrown at him right now. Again, he's looking for poke. If he can take some attention, let the rest of his team work through main, as you can see that they are doing right now. They're working their way onto the point. But we see Meko very low there. So Dante not taking quite enough attention away from the rest of the Outlaws there to really allow them to get in. He is committed now. This is quite a wide flank.
Yeah, he's going very wide on the flank, but also a very dangerous position as they can just move around and just LOS him, right? Where they can just break the line of sight. You can't really see Dante here. He is taking rockets for a wild ride out there in the back as the rest of the Outlaws are falling, and it doesn't seem like Dante was not in a position to put down any damage there on the Toronto Defiant, like any meaningful damage, because if he comes around the corner to get really good angles on everybody, then he gives the sightline to Surefour, which is what he's trying to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, now Dante and Raucus kind of have to stay here. There are a couple ledges they can perch on. Obviously, they can stay airborne indefinitely, but damage like that, I mean, that was really set up by the
Raucus
icicle.
should be dead in a second. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
So nowhere from the fly to.
Yeah, you need a reference point. You need a north star.
Okay, so the position is good from Dante if they had players coming through the front side of that choke. The issue is at that point, the Outlaws were like down by the point. When they're down by the point, Toronto then can know where Dante is and just drop to the point and fight it. And he can't come around that corner because that's the angle that Surefour is locking down.
All right, let's try this again, says Dante to Raucus. And once more, they peek around that left-hand side. Keep an eye on Surefour, far left of your screen. He'll be trying to shut down Dante the second he comes into view. That's an amplification matrix, and Dante goes for a tumble. Raucus, well, he had used Valkyrie, so he could have got back to the rest of his team, but Kareem shuts him down. Kareem with 7 final blows for this map, Matt. That's as many as Surefour has. Filling his role as a dual DPS and support player, and given his history as a Widow player, that shouldn't be a surprise. But what a boon it is for Toronto now to have that extra firepower, and it is showing.
They throw Bob into the choke, and he just gets mowed down, but the Bob actually allows Kellex to get a free res off onto agility, so you can use it as a little bit of
Would you say it's a zoning ultimate?
Zoning ultimate, you can almost look at it as like a Bob and a little bit of a taunt mechanic there.
Dante gets one. Now there's mercies on both sides. The Resurrects are still a factor here. Nevix gets rid of Repel. Raucus trying for the Resurrect, and he gets it! Surefour's able to shut him down immediately after, though. Dante not affected by the Dynamite. Now going to take the 1v1 against Surefour. Or so we thought. Thinks better of it. Still has the high ground. Surefour probably doesn't fancy being down here. He needs to find the last pick, and he does. He didn't even have to scope in for it. And the Toronto Defiant have held the Outlaws to a standstill. There is 37 seconds left in this round, and Lynx is going to go for the old
I was going to say, you bring out the Widowmaker, you bring out the Mei here. The later portions of the game, the Widow screams kind of last resort, right? You have to pop off, you have to come up with a pick if you're Lynxer, but Widow's so difficult against these double shields.
Feast or famine, Matt, it's time to roll the dice. Lynxer, one pick should be enough. But he does have to be aware that he's going up against a Mercy. The Defiant still have Kellex on that pick. Moomin tries to walk on in now. Frozen up. Fortifies as he makes his way over towards the point here. Moomin now is going to be sat on that low ground. That's that pick. That's careered down. Lynxer finds his target. There's still Kellex alive for the healing though, but the Outlaws are set up on the point here. They get a wall to prevent the Defiant from even touching, and Moomer is sat here, proud as you like. Shawfall though, he's on the flank. He lets the Bob go. He gets two with that one, looking for a little bit more. Finally Bob succumbs, but Shawfall is still swinging for the fence. High ground seems Repel struggling to find a way down, and no one's going to fish the Outlaws out of that situation. Not even Lassie. That'll be map number 2, and Houston's one of their best maps. Falls by the wayside in what's been a very quick series so far.
Yeah, really. The first 2 games have gone lightning fast. We don't really talk about it much because he's kind of useless a lot of the times. But the Bob there from Surefour was actually quite effective because he's actually able to just contest the point. That allows the Toronto Defiant to not fall under the same pressure the Houston Outlaws fell under, where they had to run to the point. They throw the Bob on the point. He takes some time there, a few seconds. The Muma has to mow him down on the Orisa, but those few seconds allow Toronto to flush some of the players down in the lower tunnels and then get back to the point.
Having that virtual 7th player makes a huge difference for the Ash there. And I mean, Bob may not have barrage, he may not have sleep dart, but he does have a gun that shoots, and he generates immediate and imminent threat, which demands attention in many cases there. Works out well, the Ash pick. Perfect answer to the Furrow, which was never switched off, by the way. The Outlaws committing to that one course of action that ultimately causes them to lose the map. I'm sure for a short series, Matt, there's still plenty to talk about at halftime, so we're now going to step aside for a moment and let the crew over at the game break explain to us what we've seen so far.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's first and only nationwide 5G network. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Welcome back to our game break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. I am Zoe, joining me are Costa and Reinforcing. Guys, the Toronto Defiant are currently up 2-0. Reinforce called it, Costa and I just couldn't believe it.
They haven't won yet, okay? I've seen this happen before.
Johnny spooked. But you're on your way. Dude, I'm trying to give you credit and you're just like throwing it out
Watch
there.
point reset,
okay.
come back.
Right.
We'll see then. Oh boy.
It might work out for Reinforce is all I'm saying. Either way, let's talk about the game. I feel like Control was a fairly one-sided affair. However, on Numbani, I generally thought that Outlaws should have it, given that they had such a great defense. But then everything went wrong from there on. But let's start with the Control map. Reinforce, what did you see there? What went so well for the Toronto Defiant?
I really like their engages and their overall shot calling on this map. I think they played the game pretty beautifully overall. It started out on Nepal on Sanctum, where Toronto Defiant, they just played Ring Around the Rosie. They found a pick-off onto Meko, playing the Sigma, and then they kind of went from there. And then you saw these kind of messy fights where it went back and forth. It looked like Houston were able to win some fights. Muma had some great shatters. But Toronto Defiant, they just seemed to bring it back, and it seemed like they capitalized on a lot of the mistakes that the Houston Outlaws put forth. So I think this was a pretty back-and-forth matchup, but I think overall, Toronto Defiant, they seem to have a better game plan, they seem to have better shot calling, and they just clean up a lot of these fights that turn out really messy. So Houston Outlaws, they're a bit wonky right now. They're not very decisive, and they don't have very convincing fights. So I don't know if Costa agrees with me, but that's what it feels like in a way.
Yeah, I think...
Well,
I think it's been actually pretty close and back and forth. I think Toronto's just used their ultimates better for the most part. They've been getting more value out of them, at least in the first map and a half. This defense, this attack by the Houston Outlaws just made no sense. They come out with the Pharah, Hangzhou. They're just hoping that they get picks and damage. They play against an Ashe. I think as soon as you see that Ashe, they're playing Ashe Mercy, you switch off the Pharah. But instead what we see is we see Dante stays on the Pharah for about 3 minutes, and then with 1 minute left, they're like, oh, this isn't working, let's switch. But at that point, they don't have any ults, they don't have any like positioning. It's just really hard to get back from that. So I think that's just a Houston Outlaws coming with a strategy, but not realizing that they're getting countered off the bat. So like,
do you think it's a case of like, oh, I'm far up, I have ultimate, hold on guys, I'm just going to get value from my far ultimate.
Well, he was in their back
just try one more time
on the coast for, I'm going to say, a minute and a half just flying around, and then the moment he peaked, he just got shot out of the air. So just really poor decision making.
Also, by the time I think he had his second barrage or something, there was only
exactly
1 minute left. So it's it's not like they really had enough time to make something work, since after the switch he's then just there with 0% on the ult of what did he go for? Mate afterwards. Either way, doesn't really matter because it didn't work out for them. However, what did work out was a lot of big plays from the Toronto Defiant, and one of them made it into a crunch time presented by Cheez-It Grooves. This one is going to be led by Reinforce because it was quite a hype.
Yeah, it was. But not only that, I think this fight in general sort of describes what happened throughout the series. I think it starts off with the Houston Outlaws actually getting an advantage in this fight, but then Dante ends up dying to the Molten Core, which you don't really expect. I think he was playing in an Immortality field, and then the Immortality field either got destroyed or ran out, and Dante died to the Molten Core. Then Beast came in with a huge Earth Shatter and actually turns this fight around. So once again, Houston Outlaws, they had the advantage this fight, but then Toronto Defiant just turned it around based on individual plays and capitalizing on the mistakes of the Houston Outlaws. And to me, this is the series in a nutshell so far, this fight alone.
All right, so we're heading into our third map, and that will be Paris. What do we want to see from the Houston Outlaws? Two things you mentioned were that they just stuck on their compositions a little bit too long when it didn't work out. So a little bit of stubbornness there. And the other thing were their ults and how they used it. We saw some ult layering there more than once. What else is not going right
I just want to see them play the Baptiste Zen. I think they can, if they mirror this matchup, they play the Mei, the Hanzo, and the McCree, and then they just play the double shield tank. I think they actually looked pretty good on Numbani, especially on their defense. If they sort of play their style and play like the defensive way that they wanted with the double flex support, I think they can definitely take it to the Toronto Defiant. They just need to not try and overthink this, okay? Just play your game, match up. We're going to Paris, a map that you can definitely play that way. So that's all I want to see. Just go back to basics.
All right, go back to basics. Speaking of basics, we're heading back over into.
No.
Oh, wow. Lord.
That was
Wow,
so mean.
what a
That was
transition.
so mean for no reason whatsoever.
No way.
I love you guys. I'm really sorry.
Mitch, what do you have to say to
I
that?
don't even know where this one was coming from. Back to you guys.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, on the other side of your game break. This is the Overwatch League, and we are still in the series between the Outlaws versus the Defiant. But the question is, how much longer will Houston be in this series, Matt? Because Johnny hit the nail on the head at the start of Watchpoint. He says that the shot calling and the engages from Toronto have been very clean.
They have. They've been great. Toronto's been on fire the first two maps. The next map, though, Paris, I mean, could go either way. It's a toss-up, right? A very difficult map to predict. So this could be one where the Outlaws could find themselves getting back into the series.
Yeah, so far the Defiant haven't actually played Paris this season. The Outlaws have played it once and they lost that particular match. So it is a map, Matt, that is, well, pretty difficult for teams to navigate if they aren't getting through choke safely. Now, the Outlaws demonstrated quite a telegraphed approach to their engages in fights, especially on Nepal, right?
Yes.
Very clear to see what they were doing. And it feels like Toronto kind of know what to expect from Houston. You know, we saw Shawfall pick the Ashe. He picked it before he saw there would be a Mercy Pharah combination from Houston. That indicates to us that these two may be scrim partners. There just may be some assumed knowledge going on here between the two of them.
But even then, if they were scrim partners, they wouldn't have scrimmed this week.
Well, that is possible. That is true. I mean, and it's entirely possible that the Ashe pick comes out purely because they think it's going to be good in general on Numbani. I mean, there's no reason not to say that either. There's safe high ground, easy ways to sort of fall
It's
back,
like the middle ground
flanks
between running like a Widowmaker and let's say it's a like a 76 or something along those lines, right? It gives you a little bit more long-range potential. It gives you that consistent damage, although not as like really fast and consistent as a soldier. But it just kind of serves the same purpose, but just a little bit more of a distance there.
Well, yeah, I think that Ashe looks after herself a little bit better when she's dealing with the medium to close range battles than a Widowmaker, for example, unless you're just nutty and you can click heads at point blank, which we've seen Linksa do on many occasions. But Paris will be our second map in this series, and for the Outlaws here, it may be, again, when we see Linksa brought in, we think hit scan, we expect that. We saw Hangzhou from him as well, and that looked incredibly good on Numbani, but it wasn't enough to get them through. So McCree will be the play for Linksa here early.
Yeah, they'll run May and McCree up on the first platform high ground. On defense, what do the Defiant do? Bastion, Genji double shield is not really a composition we've seen anybody run. Don't expect this to be the thing that they run out with. This, okay, that would have made a little bit more sense if you ran like the Symmetra with the Bash, if you really want to run Bash on offense, but the Beast who goes with a rollout here just to see what they're running, and he'll go back to the spawn and switch. I think maybe an Orisa here will be the play, yep.
And he does. He switches up, and the Defiant realize that getting through the choke might be a little bit hard, but they value having Nevix's Hyperspheres and Accretion, especially the game-breaking potential of Gravitic Flux. So, here's your first shield up. Nevix's going to absorb some of the damage and actually prolong that Orisa shield by using Kinetic Grasp. He got like 250 to 300 extra shield, which decays fairly slowly. So, Nevix still has that to spare when he comes forward, and his next Kinetic Grasp is already online. So, he gets the Defiant through the first choke. Now here is the second.
He's just going to have to wait this out. Kellex building up towards his Amp Matrix rather quickly as well. As Nevix, they push out. So this is good positioning here from Toronto. They're actually able to force a few players down from that high ground, but Dante just being a nuisance is going to force them to back out. Yep, they're going to lose agilities.
Nevix tried to intervene there and keep agilities alive. It looks like he was not aware that Dante had dropped down behind him until it was a little bit too late. When we talk about Batiste, Matt, I remember last year watching Bedosin play on Numbani for London at the time, and he had his ultimate in the first 10 seconds as they were pushing the high ground on offense. It's very, very easy with Batiste to get quick ultimates when you're pushing through chokes against what we call spam compositions. Like comps that you sit behind shields and just throw projectiles at a gap.
AoE healing, good damage. He can even jump above and get damage down past shields, right? So a lot of ways for Baptiste to generate ult charge. I wonder if they just fly around the corner, drop this, and see if they can nuke a player down. Nope, they back out.
Kellex, yeah, being a little bit careful. He does have to be careful. Just using his Exo Boots for no reason in front of enemies will probably just get him shot out of the sky like a Pharah. He drops even more predictably than that. Again, healing has to be used, and that Immortality Field already thrown down and dispatched off. And I think the Defiant, yeah, it's back to the drawing board for them yet again. And Kellex tries to use his Exo Boots to get away. Luckily, there was a shield from Nevix to protect him from the poke.
Now the Defiant just kind of, oh, I was going to say they were stuck in the choke, but that'll be a Discord Orb onto Muma and then a kill. So the Gravitic Flux, the answer for the Houston Outlaws, but they're a little bit split right now, Mitch.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Gravitic Flux pops everybody up into Linksa's line of sight and makes it very easy for the McCree to just pop them once or twice. They are virtually suspended in midair still for quite some time. Easy pickings for McCree, especially for Linksa. So that's a decent answer. Look, you lose your pivot, you lose your main tank, and then you say, well, okay, we have to do something else. They throw out the Gravitic Flux and they keep themselves alive on this first point hold. I like it.
Now the Outlaws in a position to potentially get a full hold here, right? You have a lot of ultimates, and as I say, that totally jinx it. But they were not able to capitalize on the pick the last time. Let's see if they're able to capitalize taking out Linksa.
Yeah. Linksa was the reason, though, that they were able to stop even in the short-handed fight. Oh Meko, you cannot use Kinetic Grasp at that range on Dragon's
He got
He
halted.
knew it too. He had no choice but to brave the flames of the Dragon. They consumed him in turn. Supercharge used quite far back here, and the Defiant are very slow and moving on to this point. Beast looks like he's able to stave off a little bit of the slow with the Fortify, but eventually gets frozen up and does have a Discord Orb on him, but the damage has been done elsewhere. Nevix just windmill slams Propeller to the ground, and the Defiant will have this point A.
Yep, it'll be Dante just coming on for a little bit extra stall, but that'll be it as Toronto. They finally break it. Although it does take a while. They did get that first blood on Amuma. They're not able to win it. It's really Meko with the Gravitic Flux who saves today. But the next time they get that pick on a Linkser, they're able to break on through. So both teams will now go into the mirror. The issue for the Outlaws here, though, Mitch, is they have no ultimates on the board. Rockets probably get the Amp Matrix, but the Blizzard for agilities, they have to kite this on the point, or else Toronto may be able to take point B really quick.
Dante didn't use his Blizzard frivolously in the last fight either. It was just a lack of capitalization after the fact. It wasn't like it was thrown away. The Defiant, though, will take their time. Now, if they take too long, the Outlaws will build some of those key ultimates and be able to stave them off here. So now we see a little bit more pace as the Defiant start looping towards the point. Agility's just going to wall off the Orisa on that left side, but there's still threats on the other. Blizzard thrown in there. Dante's going to use the ice block, try and back away. He throws up an ice wall for his own protection, and now the Defiant stand inside their own Blizzard. But Beast is taken down. Repel's able to get the Discord Orb and the finish off. And Raucus is undetected, essentially, in this corner, or at least unharried for the time being.
Oh, well.
That was short-lived. That was short-lived indeed. The Defiant eventually able to break through here, Matt. Now, do they have the numbers to move to point? No.
No, they're going to have to back out here. One more player for Toronto on the point. That'll be Agilities. Just charges down Muma. But Toronto, they'll end up not even getting a tick out of that, Mitch, where they had that Blizzard to use. And there was no... Raucus does get the Amp Matrix there, but there was no other ultimates available at the time. It's a big hold there for the Outlaws.
Listen, the Outlaws split themselves up, so they can't just be wiped in one go, and then there is enough time for the reinforcements to arrive. Surefour has a Dragon Strike, but as far as things to combo that with, there's nothing.
But you have a good halt, right? I mean, Beast ends up with a good halt on a Mecha the last time. So we'll see if they can combo that Dragon plus the halt. As you see this positioning from Surefour, just to try and get somebody from Houston to be in a position to get this halt into the Dragon off.
Yeah, he fancies himself in a 1v1 anywhere. He'd love to draw some attention. And he does! It looks like he's actually got Nevix caught here. Nevix gets accreted, and that Dragon Strike was supposed to be using Nevix as some form of bait, but it was too delicious, and it was gobbled up instantly.
Oh,
and
man.
that is an ultimate that has been wasted.
That's tough.
Completely thrown down the drain.
Yeah, so you gotta feel for Nevix there. He didn't get baited. That wasn't the intent, but he definitely did.
It looks like it though, man.
Ooh, okay, Surefour with an exit here on a Raucus. Can you just go in on this rather quickly? Maywall
the
here to
answer
buy
is no.
time.
The Defiance comp doesn't really let them do that. With a Maywall in play, they're going to be waylaid even further. So they have a player advantage, but now Lynx has been able to get into a flanking spot. Dragon Strike attempted to be thrown in. He was halted into an arrow from Surefour, and Lynx's Dragon Strike doesn't really find the mark. The Outlaws had to be very careful here, but they've got a lot of ultimates to work with, and that Blizzard is perfect into the Gravitic Flux. But Mecho's got more work to do on the backside because Nevix has come through off from the wings, catches Raucus with an accretion, dodges Mecho's. Mecho looking a little bit low, trying to sit behind his shield here, but Lynx has returned to the fight, gets his revenge on Surefour. It's going to have to take more from the Hangzhou now, though, as one tick has been accrued for the Defiant, and Lynx had to fight 1v4. Kareem set up on the point, wrecking balls now into the fray. Both Muma and his opposite number Beast attempted, but can't touch in time. And so the Toronto Defiant finished the map with 11 seconds on the clock.
It's a good transcendence from Kareev as he comes through the choke when the Blizzard's going down. And he actually, Mecho pops the Gravitic Flux while the transcendence is still active. So didn't really get much of anything. That's why when we were on board with him, he just kind of turns to his left and tries to shift focus just on staying alive, maybe putting some damage down on some other players. As the Gravitic Flux doesn't get anything. Surefour time and time again was getting these picks, Mitch. Just took a while for things to develop. But that fight really starts when they get Raucus. They're forced to use an early Maywall in the choke. Then an Amp Matrix comes down for the Defiant, and they push onto the point.
Houston thought they had them there. There was a Blizzard from Dante into a Gravitic Flux, but during all of that action, it seems like Mecho failed to realize that there was a Sigma and a Batiste flanking them on the left side. Once they got to the point, I mean, it was an instant kill, I think, on the enemy May by Toronto, and then they were able to play the fight from two different angles. They had Houston caught in a crossfire.
Interesting. Just
when Houston thought they had a wombo combo in the main door.
We'll see the Ashe again. So maybe they think they're going to be playing Pharah here. It's that little trolly Maywall there from Agilities, blocking his teammates. But the Ashe I don't feel is going to be as powerful on this part of the map and on this map in general as it was on Numbani. Numbani, a lot of high ground, a lot of Pharah play. Here, we're not seeing the Pharah early from the Outlaws. And there's not a ton of high ground unless he goes really far away. But at that point, you were better off just playing Widowmaker. So I'm interested to see how Surefour puts the Ashe to use.
Yeah, I want to see if the Dynamite ends up being huge or just feeds Raucus a ton of ult percentage early on. You know, maybe if you're Houston, you want to get hit by it, and then you just let your AoE healing build up.
I mean,
regardless.
you allow the charge onto getting Bob as well, although Bob not as impactful.
Oh my, that was a perfect hold from Muma. Look at that, hold into accretion. There was a Discord Orb thrown there, Linksa. Everything was used, but they have a Mercy. Kellex is here, doesn't matter though, they've lost agilities now. And the Outlaws are doing a much better job here of creating opportunities and now a player advantage. It's a 6v5, and the Outlaws as a result take center stage. They move to the high ground, they get rid of Beast.
The Outlaws have a much better composition to break these shields with the Hangzhou in play and the Zenyatta. It's really difficult as we don't really see the Ashe do anything there on that first point, but it's really not the Ashe's fault. The whole team falls apart there playing up on the high ground. So it looked like Agility's win Doomfist trying to maybe get back to the point with a nice rollout, but he'll change, go back to May, so that resets a little ultimate that he gained. Then we'll see the Kellex Zenyatta here.
Kellex and Kareem. Obviously, we don't normally see Kellex on flex supports, but he's actually one of the longest serving players in the Overwatch League. This guy has been at the top level for a long time. The Danish nationals also represented his country pretty much every World Cup he's been a part of. 5 minutes 28 on the clock though. Here comes the push. Amplification matrix thrown up, and Nevix and Co think to back away. Nevix eats a lot of that initial salvo of damage with the kinetic grasp, and that buys Toronto the time to get back to point. But they look uncomfortable, Matt. They look like they don't like this at all.
I mean, they don't want to fight this straight up because they will lose that battle because of the Hangzhou shield damage and just damage in general. As Repel with a headshot on the Surefour range, so you lose your main source of damage for Toronto.
Good catch though on Linkster though, Matt. That was the combination between Nevix and Agilities. But Dante and Raucus starting to get involved, and now this could be over very quickly for Toronto. They're going to be shoved off the point here. Right in the backline, Repel has been dishing death. 6 final blows for Repel. That's more than Dante has this round. And the Outlaws have an immense time bank to work with. Surefour slammed to the ground. Kinetic grasp now being used by Meko. Well, he get caught by the Dragon Strike. A lot of damage there. And the Toronto Defiant still trying to keep some players on the point, but Kellex gets halted out into the line of fire. That's a desperation gravitic flux. And they are thrown down into an immortality field, but Raucus and Repel aren't lucky. They don't stay alive, and now Surefour's able to find Muma, and this is over for Houston.
Oh, they're able to bring it back. Nevix coming in with 2 kills, the gravitic flux. They're able to get another one off the back of that as everybody tosses all their ultimates into the fray. It was an early nice play, a little nice play that you saw on the side, maybe at the point where...
Little nice.
Yeah, Surefour actually goes to bob the point to contest, and Meko jumps up and just blocks it, like he eats the bob to his face to prevent him from getting onto the point, which then made Toronto panic a little bit. Agilities had to jump on and block.
Yeah, well, Bob only goes as far as the first target that he knocks up, Matt. And nicely done to body block him, although that's not really the kind of thing I want to throw myself in front of. The Outlaws now just need to not get frustrated. They still have a huge time bank, and they got 2 ticks from that last fight. This really should be their map to win now. Ice Wall's thrown up. Repel doing so much this round. Look at him, he's going to sit now behind formation. Muma a little low, but he's going to try and get the most out of this amplification matrix. Dante's forced to ice block on the point though, and here come the rest of the Outlaws now. As soon as Dante raises the signal flare, the rest of them move up. Dante going now for a freeze on the right-hand side and combining it with that endothermic blaster means it's a very quick slow, and there it is. 3 minutes 56 on the clock for Houston. They are way ahead on Paris.
And Houston really wins that on their great point A take. Their point A take was very quick. They were able to push Toronto off of the high ground. Toronto, I would be shocked if they run the Ashe again. They probably opt and run something like the Hangzhou here, because there was no Pharah on the other side. I think maybe they were expecting a Pharah play if they were going to run on Numbani. Maybe we see it here on Paris on offense, but no Pharah for the Houston Outlaws. They're able to take that point rather quickly.
The Defiant have to go on the attack first, which is always the unenviable position for the teams with the lesser time bank on these assault maps. And yeah, we definitely won't see Ashe here, that's for sure. The question is whether Surefour tries to run it back on defense. It looked bad. I mean, Ashe in some of those cases has to make more dangerous peaks to get kills. I would consider it a riskier play. And I guess on Numbani it works because there's a huge amount of low ground separated by 2 of those balconies. But here, you're kind of out on the flat. You don't really get to the sick high ground as defenders past that first little choke.
See the Outlaws go with McCree here, so they will have not as much damage, like really bursty damage onto the shields like the Hangzhou, but see if they can put the McCree to use. I feel like the Hangzhou is a better pick here than McCree, to be honest with you. It's just, I feel like Deadeye is kind of, it's a zoning ultimate, which
Which says a lot. It says a lot.
But it's almost a worse version of Dragon, right? Because the Dragon you can just throw out and then start moving again and shooting and doing stuff. With Deadeye, you're just kind of stuck.
Hey, you can move your screen now, Matt. Now, that's a big quality of life update for McCree.
You move your screen while you die, standing still. That's cool. But I mean, Hangzhou also gives you the information with Sonic Arrow as well. I feel like there's a lot of advantages to Hangzhou here.
Look at this. The Defiant split themselves into 2. This is very aggressive. Now, the cohort on the low ground consists of, well, as far as we can see, Beast Halo, and he's able to move up a little bit. Throws the shield out, but the high ground is still controlled by Houston. Yeah, and look what happens. Houston realized that the Defiant, they choose to split themselves up, so they just collapse on one half of the team, and Shore4 is lost at sea, halted now through the doorway, straight headfirst into an icicle, and that will be it. The Defiant will not make any more ground on this map.
And where the McCree comp wins out over the Hangzhou one is when they're not fighting in that long-range area in the choke. When it gets into that close quarters, that's when McCree can get in that effective range and be almost more impactful than Hangzhou. So right there, the Toronto Defiant by rotating, trying to get up to that high ground, played right into the Outlaws comp. Now the Outlaws, all they need is that one tick here to win this map. They gotta get it. I mean, I do not want to see this go to a draw. It would be bad for the Houston fans.
It's unlikely. They've got 4 minutes to work with, but we don't know what Toronto Defiant have up
We
their
have
sleeve
seen a
here.
lot of unlikely stuff. Did you see that C9
God.
the other day with Dallas and Washington?
Yeah.
I mean, people just
made
turning their brain off mid-game, just running around.
being a pro gamer ain't easy, mate.
Nah.
Repel, I have to say, he's putting the performance out on this map that is, I guess it's kind of reminiscent of, reasons why he was picked up for, a team like the Titans, man. He looks incredibly good. 9 final blows. He's even with Linkser in final blows, and he's even with him in damage. So again, both of these teams are showing these flex supports that can really function as, off DPS.
It's why we were surprised we didn't see more Repel earlier on in the season. Like when they picked him up, it seemed like he was going to challenge Raucus for a starting spot, have a good chance to win that. And then we've seen him sparingly, so it's good to get a good look at him in this series.
And the time is right for 2 flex supports. Here we go. So the Defiant play the McCree instead. I would call this slightly safer, but still not airtight, Matt.
No.
See what you're get done.
Let's see. I want to see Toronto not just give up this high ground straight away. I mean, they do get Beast low here. But if you're Toronto, you got to hold strong on this. You can't push back to the point. Well, you can't let that happen either.
That is exactly what the doctor ordered. And it's not the kind of doctor that the Defiant will go back to next time, that's for sure. He doesn't have their best interests at heart. But, I mean, Houston, yeah, he does. Maybe take pity on them for getting kicked out of their house in the Woodlands. Shout out to the Woodlands residents. You guys are no fun. Link's now going to sit back behind this light pole here, but that first pick really opens things up. That is it. Houston Outlaws, again, on the back of Linkser, crack the Defiant open and get themselves a map in this series.
Yeah, Houston looked like a completely different team there on Paris than they did in our first 2 maps. Really taking it to Toronto. The Ash pick did not work out for Toronto on their first defense on A. And after that, it allows the Outlaws to have a crazy time bank into overtime, which allows them to win the map.
I mean, this is how these compositions operate on Paris, Matt. You're supposed to try and find a pick as the attacking team. Now, when we saw Toronto play it, they were not that aggressive. There maybe weren't as many risks being taken. And it took them a heck of a long time. Now, when they went to defense is when they started taking risks and they got blown up awfully quickly. That is a big turnaround here for the Houston Outlaws, and maybe some momentum for them heading after the break.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an Outlaws fan, that's exactly how you want to see them come out after the break. They looked good the other day. They looked poor the first 2 games. This resembles more of what we've seen yesterday.
All right, we may be settled in for a long series here. Let's see if the Outlaws can bring it back, or will the Defiant put this nonsense to a stop? We'll find out on the other side of these messages.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's first and only nationwide 5G network. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Well, regardless if there are hurricanes or lightning storms harassing the residents of Houston, the Outlaws have been able to overcome them for now and get themselves at least a map in this series, Matt. Paris, for those just joining us, was not a close affair. No. It felt like the map went for a little while, but that's because it took so long for the Defiant to try and make their attacking round.
The 3 maps we've had in this series have felt extremely one-sided. The first 2 go in favor of the Defiant, the last one in favor of the Outlaws. So can the Outlaws keep that going into Game 4? Game 4 will be on Rialto. You can play the Mei Hangzhou here as well. I mean, that's what the Outlaws, they had good success with on that previous map. We'll see what Toronto tries to do if they try and get a little funny and run something like an Ashe again. We saw Agilities. He never came out on it, but switched to Doomfist a few times in the spawn. Maybe try and get back or maybe try and make a play, but we'll see what Toronto pulls out if they just go and match in the mirror.
What do you think about the old school Bastion Pharah DPS comps we saw in this map? Like, think playoffs of last year, and is that an option? You set the Bastion up on the high ground, let your Pharah play?
You could. We did see a lot of teams though break that with Pharahs, right?
That's true.
Well, we saw it work for a little bit, but then teams that were pretty decent were able to break it pretty consistently with a Pharah. I don't know if we'll see teams revert back to that. It is double shield, so it does make some sense. Double shield Baptiste lends itself to more Bastion type of comps because the game is just slower. It's way more campy around the shields and just positioning. So Bastion can excel in that type of gameplay.
This will be the Outlaws' first outing on Rialto, and of course we've already seen the Defiant play this map. They've managed to get a win, so we'll see what this new look Outlaws for this season shows on this map. And defensively, at least, as much as Shore4 has professed to be a lover of Bastion, he either won't choose to play it or won't be allowed to. It will be Hangzhou for him.
Yeah, they'll try and match. They expect the Outlaws to come out with a Hangzhou of their own. So at least it's Widowmaker at the start, but then you think Linkser will probably switch off of this because he's run the Hangzhou pretty much the whole game. So they'll get into
you're playing Widow against double shield, probably doesn't feel great anyway, right?
Yeah, it feels horrible. It's probably just try and get a pick here early on, maybe somebody peeking the high ground. Ooh, he saw Repel there for a sec.
And, okay.
Maybe a halt into it? Nope, not able to get it going. He gets one headshot, little wave, now he goes back. He'll go to Hangzhou maybe. Ooh. Yeah, Dante on the Tracer. So he did this the other day against Boston, just tore him up.
Okay, so he has to be really careful of Nevix. That's, I guess, the main threat for him. Also, random headshots from Hangzhou, which honestly, you can't just write off as random coincidences. They happen a little too often.
He made the Tracer look sick the other day against the Uprising.
Yeah, that's right. A big part of them getting the win there. So what can he do here? Oh my! Well, Kareem gets blown up. He couldn't get away. It was a one clip from Dante, though. That much is certain, and he's already gotten 2 supports down.
Is he invisible?
Look at the Defiant crumble, dude. Hello?
All right. Well, Dante just blinks into the back line, takes out both supports, picks up another one on Nevix, and that'll be a first point take almost here.
It's time for the tour, man.
For the Outlaws. They're going to get very close to their pushing up here, trying to prevent Toronto from making another defensive stand. But, yep, like you mentioned, it's Torbjorn time as when we see Tracer, Torbjorn comes out. Torb's a great counter to the flankers. Does he pull a Decay, though, and play this into the Torbjorn?
I mean, I'm here for it if he's going to do that Dante pulse bomb. Good placement, but he only gets rid of the immortality build from Kellex. But he sits up here, happy as Larry, and there's nobody to stop him. Even his theoretical counter goes down. And Dante is painting the town red, and it's not paint. It's not.
There you go.
It's not paint.
A few shots to the body. What is it then?
It's just not paint. I can say that much. I can only use a process of elimination, Matt.
Gotcha. So it's not paint.
No.
Yeah, I don't really know many other
it's tomato
things that
sauce.
Obviously,
it's Rialto, bro. Come on, bro.
Toronto, I mean, they're in a horrible spot. Ant Matrix here. You have no other ultimates to work with. Meko just up here on the high ground. This is looking ugly for Toronto. It looks like these teams will like switch bodies with each other at halftime.
Yeah, well, right? Regardless, I mean, it's given us a game, so no complaints here. The Outlaws typically, look, on these payload maps, like
Toronto.
All right, that's one pick. Dante, yeah, I mean, look, the Defiant now without Linkser in play can step out a little bit from those shields. Another pulse bomb, but the Transcendence comes in. It wasn't quick enough to save him. No, that's Shore4 getting another kill in this fight. It was actually his turret that shuts Dante down. As Tracer, you don't want to be forced to sit behind, line of sight, boxes and whatnot to avoid a turret but to get close enough to damage it yourself, you take a ton of damage.
Yeah, and that's why you see him switch off of it, right? So he'll move away from Tracer, play Mei now as Torbjorn. When you have that turret in the back, all it has to do is just like ding the Tracer twice, and she's in a really bad spot HP-wise. That's why you see Torb played so much. And then also he has great survivability. I mean, Torb has a lot of nice things in his toolkit now.
For the avoidance of doubt, turrets cannot headshot.
Yes, they can. Yeah, they cannot headshot. Yes.
But once they lock on a target, they stay on that target until the target is dead, or they leave line of sight. So once it's on you, you have to get it off. Thinks are playing from the high ground here. Okay, wall preventing him and his teammates from getting back in, but he's able to avoid this. Now, Meko attempted to go for a gravitic flux there, but that really fizzled. I don't know if it's interrupted or not. It's a little bit hard to say. There doesn't really seem to be anything that would do that. But Agility is able to find Dante there with a Blizzard. Meko is caught out, and now the Toronto Defiant, well, they found their feet. Instead of pizza shop, they went for poutine, and it seems to suit them much better.
Yeah, I think what happened with Meko is that he just ran. He went so far away the opposite direction that he got so far away they weren't able to actually capture anything in that gravitic flux. Kind of went to absolutely nothing.
It looked like Meko tried to use it on the stairwell, and in that case, I think Nevix and maybe Beast were too far forward of it, so he couldn't quite actually see the aiming reticle from the angle he was at.
So best case scenario here for the Outlaws is what? You come in, you use Amp Matrix, Linkser probably put some damage down, force out an ultimate or two. But Toronto, they have to know that the Outlaws are pretty dry on ults. There's no reason for Toronto to waste ultimates here unless they get first blooded.
Okay. Gravitic Flux. Dante won't die from falling. Takes half his health of damage. Linkser gets the shield put in his face immediately. Forced down from the high ground. Dante stunned up. Has another ice block though. Nevex just trying to stay away from the accretion. He's able to dodge it. Kinetic grasp, and here's the Molten Core on the card. Hold comes in. All the Defiant drawn together, and most of Houston are able to avoid this Molten Core, but they lose Dante. It's a trade. Now after this Transcendence, that Torbot will still be active on the ground. Muma got halted onto some of it, but he's able to avoid it. He is low though.
Toronto still with the high ground here in control as their defense has looked really good now as they've solidified on this come. Really, since they've switched Dante off of the Tracer, Yellows have not been able to get anything going, and Sureforce stayed on the Torbjorn. He had that Molten Core. Does he switch off of it now, though? Do we see him play the Hangzhou? Do we see them mirror it up? I think he may stay on it in fear that if he plays the Hangzhou, they go back and just play Tracer, and you can farm up a Pulse Bomb pretty quickly. And you can potentially see them take the next point. You probably almost have to stay on
Dante got one in one fight,
yeah,
Matt. You're dead
you
right.
Probably have to stay on the Torb just as a security blanket.
I guarantee you, Sureforce is not complaining about that. I think he loves Torbjorn. So now the Outlaws, they spot Nevix on the stairs. That's all the information they get. Okay, they also see the Mei there. The Defiant probably don't know that they're visible to this, and so the Dragon Strike comes through. Yeah, they weren't ready for it. Immortality Field gets thrown up, but Nevix, all careful, has to get back behind Beast's shield because he dropped away from that Immortality Field. Linkser spots the turret on the left side, needs to spend some time dealing with that. That's a 3-player Gravitic Flux, but they're all healthy. And they just get healed up as soon as they touch the ground. Sureforce turret is down on that. He's at long range. Blizzard thrown out by Dante. Risky indeed, but there's no Divas to eat it up right now. And that'll net in the kill on Nevix. Agilities doesn't have the ice block right now, and he can't stay alive, but at least he gets the trade. Sureforce down, but Agility's also falling. And there it is. Finding Linkser is Sureforce, staying alive in the fight, and there's 8 seconds left. The Outlaws looks like... No. Okay, Sureforce shows some
hammer
respect,
time, yeah.
puts the hammer away. Here comes the ball swinging through Meko. Not much to be done there, and that will be pretty much the end of the Outlaws' run here. No one else to really touch Dante. All the blinks in the world couldn't get there.
And that is what we expected to see when we saw Decay play Tracer in their series into the LA Valiant's Torbjorn, where the Torb is such a hard counter to the Tracer right now. As once, look, Dante runs through them on point A, and then he runs through them for a lot of point B. But once they get positioning with that Torbjorn, they have to switch off of it. That's when Toronto takes full control of the game.
The Outlaws, do they take a leaf out of that book? Is that really somewhere that they're willing to go? Do they even need to do that? Find out next time. No, we need to find out right now. That's what we're here to see. But Sureforce, again, he can probably open up with the Hangzhou. I think like Hangzhou Mei from the Defiant seems kind of fine, right? You just play standard and see then if you have to adjust, but you know where your baseline is.
Ready for battle.
Or, unless...
Let's see, Sureforce, I mean, they tried this on Numbani, right? And it didn't work at the start. All right, so they're banking on Dante running the Tracer, which he is right now, which to be fair, it's a great read from Toronto, but you don't see defensive Tracer here on Rialto a ton, right? Tracer, in general, like, is only played on defense when it's like we're getting into a composition that's really like a mirror version of each other, where both teams are running the Tracer, because she's so good at times. But this is really, I want to see how Dante makes this work, because you're going to have to give him a ton of space, right, to create angles for him to flank and whatnot. But at that time, if Toronto just plays around the Torb, you should be good.
Yeah, I mean, Houston have a Tracer. They want to dive, they want to flank, but I mean, they're really not incentivized to do so now based on Toronto's composition. So what do they do instead? They can't do neither. They have to do one of those things, and we'll see. I do see a little bit of positioning towards that right-hand side by Muma. They might try and set up a crossfire, but Linksa gets rid of agilities in lieu of any shielding, and now Dante is probably going to dive on in and get some ult charge, get some kills.
Right, so he deals with the turbo. You see how the recall has to come out, right? Gets a little bit low, drops down, takes out a support. Now you get out of harm's way. You do have enough here for Toronto. You should not have to switch off of this anymore for the Toronto Defiant to deal with this type of composition. So the first fight goes in favor of the Outlaws. They push on forward. They get Dante the angles for him to flank. Toronto does not need to switch off this comp. I'll say that again. May and Torb should be enough to deal with this. Plus the accretion, Discord Orb. I mean, you have a lot of tools to be able to deal with this Tracer in.
Linksa found a pick through 2 shields. That's why the Outlaws were able to play that way. Notice that Dante is going to make himself quite scarce until he knows it's going to be safe to get aggressive. And that opportunity last time was yielded by Linksa. You cannot guarantee that will happen each fight. Look how low Muma is. So he's already had to back right on up there behind that sort of statue area where the tree is. And Shawful will sit and spot out the people on the high ground. Big stick though. Kellex loses his immortality field, but that's about it. Good response from the Batiste, but it's not enough to keep Kariv alive after the fact. And Lynx has got a bit of a nasty angle here, Matt.
He does. The cart, though, not moving at all for Toronto. He can get a nice Dragon Strike through this wall if you are Linkser. He has vision with a Sonic Arrow. You see, this is so difficult. Like, look at the spam that Mekko's got through that doorway. Then you go through the front, and it's just a Rissa spam. And then the Tracer just kind of flanking all over the place. And then if you try and push something, you're running into the damage of the Honda. So difficult.
Oh, that Dragon Strike. Both Amplification Matrix looks like they were used there, but it is the Dragon Strike that really sets up that fight for the Outlaws here. And they know full well one mistake could cost them the map and hence the series. So they are playing very tight.
All right, so
right now.
Surefour goes Tracer. I was almost thinking, are we going to see a world in which you play like McCree Torbjorn against this? Oh!
That is not okay at all! Dante straight into the chat with an exclamation mark, and Shawful just got absolutely thrashed!
Ready for transcendence.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Alright, some banter in the chat.
Oh, this pulse bump could be big. You see him just...
Dante.
Oh, they get a pick, though. Like, look at, like, the Dante's not really, like, popping off like crazy on this side, but just his presence is making a huge impact.
We're already down to a minute to go. Toronto Defiant.
Yeah.
Yes. Too many holes in their defense, or at least as they push forward. I mean, they're supposed to have 2 damn shields.
We haven't even seen a ton of action here on this half, because it's just been like, they've been so worried about Dante, and they've never actually gotten to the card or done anything.
Dante, 90 health here. But he's more than happy. He's got plenty to work with. He spots Shawful, and he's in his head already. Forced the recall out of Shawful. He wants to take the fight. Gravitic Flux. No one dropped down into that one. Kariv had to use the Transcendence to keep his team alive. Now it's going to be a supercharger from Muma, and Agilities is down again. Dante has been so elusive, so slippery, and he works his way in from the backside. Linksa assisting, getting rid of that immortality field, and the Toronto Defiant are in deep trouble. It is a river of effluent that they are up without a paddle, and it's a Dragon Strike for Linksa to signal the end of this round, potentially.
Oh, this is a really poor offense from Toronto. Maywall up on the high ground just to block some spam. You can't get agilities there. No Blizzard. You have a Gravitic Flux, but it is not going to make a difference.
I mean, Shawful puts himself at mid to long range from his Zenyatta. It's as close as he could get. He's able to get Linksa, though. That's the first pick, but Dante was chasing him down, keeping track of him. He gets rid of him. Nevis will prolong his lifespan just a little bit longer here with that kinetic grasp, but that is it. Toronto Defiant. Oh dear, that attack is looking toothless as all heck. It has to be an ice block here. just to try and keep Agilities alive. He goes for a solo Blizzard, but Dante zipping in, zipping out.
Oh,
Job
man.
done for the Outlaws. They will secure the tiebreaker map.
Dante's Tracer goes crazy again here on Rialto, as that'll allow the Outlaws to push this to a Game 5, as Toronto looked really bad on offense there. The tour...
It broke Surefour's ankles, bro. The guy can't even walk.
But sure,
So,
I mean, Surefour didn't expect him to be just camping there on the side, and then he gets one clipped. I think it's just a really nice play, a nice positioning from Dante, nice shots, where Surefour's like looking for him to just kind of maybe pull back to his team, get some healing, and then run around.
What a way to make a statement. Not only that from Dante, but the Outlaws now.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Who decide the series stick around? Tiebreaker map is just around the corner. Matthew Morello, what would this match be without a map 5 between Toronto and the Houston Outlaws? It seems like these teams really fighting for purchase go to map 5 a lot.
I mean, maybe we've done one over the last 2 years or so, but I can't remember a Game 5, a series that went to 5 that was so odd like this. That one team in each map just looked non-existent. And like...
I remember it. I remember one was like this.
Which one?
It was Seoul Dynasty Shanghai Dragons Season 1. It was a series that went for a long time, and the maps were super one-sided, so it was really confusing and hard to, like, see what was going on with these teams or who was actually the stronger team, because one declined hugely after halftime.
Right. It's a weird look, because Toronto, they had control of the series. They looked great on the first 2 maps. And then the next 2, the Outlaws just come and just run right through them. The Outlaws look great in the last 2. So this final map should just be the toss-up, right? As we do have some subs coming in, so it looks like Logix will come back in for the Toronto Defiant, which makes sense. They play him on a lot of control maps. And then for the Houston Outlaws, we'll see Jexay come back in. He played game number 1. He did have some issues before game number 1, and then we saw Raucus come in. But that's probably because they wanted to play a lot of Baptiste. They probably want to go back to some more Lucio play here on control.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. Could be sort of Lucio Moira. We have still seen teams, stay with that Baptiste in their composition. I know the Titans playing a bunch of Lucio Moira and just sort of sticking to it right now. They play a little bit of Wrecking Ball, but yeah, we expect to see Jexa in here, obviously very aggressive. Logix, on the other hand, I mean, if you're looking for I'm not saying we should expect to see Tracer necessarily on control maps, but that's also a Tracer play that could match Dante if he was required.
I do think Surefour is a good Tracer, but it didn't look great there.
We didn't get enough time to play it, to be fair, and his team was getting rolled, and they were trying to push out a spot.
But Logix you would consider like a Tracer, McCree, Widow specialist, right? Of somebody who can play those hit scan heroes at a really high level. So that's why he comes.
What do we know about his Hangzhou?
Hangzhou is almost like, I mean, with how good Storm Arrow is, right? It's almost kind of like hit scan in a way. Like it's not really like it falls. It's not hit scan like how you would think of like Soldier 76 or whatnot. Right. There is a little bit of lead and a little bit of kind of like a drop. But it's still really close to it.
But if you're saying it's projectile in the same way that Pharah is projectile, maybe that's like a little bit disingenuous, right?
Absolutely. It'd be like saying it's kind of the same as like Genji. It's not. It's very different to how those other projectile characters work.
And I think the last time we really made like a solid distinction between projectile and hit scan DPS players was like 2017 or something. A lot of players.
Everyone's had to be so good now. You have to be so versatile.
In a native hero pools, you know, specialists are very good to have, but from map to map, if your team can sort of adjust, or from week to week more specifically, if you can make sure you have all those roles covered, it's really important. For example, right, a lot of these teams in the past have fielded a main support and a flex support, but in a Zen Batiste meta, you know, your main support player needs to be out there, you know, being able to play. Like, Cuss is a good example of this. He was actually a Zen player before he became a Lucio player. But, you know, had the Valiant with him, you know, had to go back and maybe play Batiste or something different, you know, when he'd been practicing.
Oh, that's not what he told me. He told me that then he realized that the checks were the same for Lucio and Zen, and why go through all the trouble of trying to play Zen when you can just play Lucio? That's what he's telling me.
Well, turns out the checks were the same for being too smart to play on the team as well, right? At least for as long as they lasted.
Some of the newcomers to the talent team, we've hit him hard. I like us. He's great.
I think the only person that gets hazed harder than Custer is Jaws.
I can tell Custer still has the pro gamer left in him, because we'll be playing games and something will go wrong, like he'll like miss a shot or something will happen, and you can just hear the desk just slam. He's still got that competitive side still left in him.
I want to make this very clear. You don't have to be a pro gamer to want to slam your desk playing video games.
I never get angry because I just don't miss shots. I mean, that's what I do.
That is utter balderdash, bro. Okay. All right, listen.
What?
I've seen you miss some shots, bro. Last few days, seen you miss some shots.
Never happened. Never happened. It's just a myth.
Let's jump into our 5th map of the series, and it will be the last one now because it is Control. It is Lijiang Tower. And for the Outlaws, this map, I mean, we talked about Nepal being quite good for them, and it had been up until today. Right. Lijiang Tower, they're still winless on this map this season. So, again, we probably should expect to see very similar double tank with the, double shield tank with May.
You will see double tank. You will see double tank,
yes. Yep. I believe it would be an infraction of the rules to not have 2 tanks.
Yep. At this point, it is a rule. Yeah, you're going to see double shield. I think with what we've seen all day, what we've seen yesterday, double shield's going to be the weekend's flavor. And look, with May back in as well, like a lot of May double shield, it just kind of, once you get the May back in, once you have the Orisa Sigma, it just kind of makes itself at that point.
Well, if the Outlaws do this, it'll be their first reverse sweeps in Stage 2 in 2018 versus the Florida Mayhem.
Time.
And that was their only other reverse sweep. So, a momentous occasion for Houston. Auspicious even, but there's still some legwork to be done. Well, they got 4 of those on Meko, so we'll see if, they have enough of those. And why do we call Soldier legs when Meko has more than Soldier? When Orisa has more legs than Soldier?
Well, why is Orisa so slow when she has 4 legs?
Oh, I mean, 4 legs doesn't mean you're going to be fast.
The double TP up to the high ground. All right, here we go.
Almost. Is that a gentleman's agreement to start the match off like that one? Looks like a JoJo episode starting face to face, and then we descend into utter chaos. Linksa caught around on the outside, and Logix had eyes on him before he did on Logix. Dante's down. Logix finds another one. Meko's shield's going to get burned away, trying to fortify through the damage, but there's just not enough health or durability. And the Toronto Defiant will now clean up that teleporter and claim the high ground for their own.
All right, so Toronto wins the war of the teleporters.
I love it.
Logix gets a better use of the Symmetra here at the beginning. Is 95% to his ultimate in the first fight to Linkser's 34. That is crazy in terms of ult charge. So, agility to the right click takes out Linkser. Looks like the shield went down for just a split second, and that's just enough for a May right click.
I mean, Logix has 5 times the damage as Linksa has right now because of that first fight. So 5 times more effective, I guess you could say. He stayed alive a lot longer, though. That's a big difference maker. Here's an amplification matrix, first from the Defiant, then from the Outlaws. This will be enough to break that wall down. Looks like they were looking for a hold, and that's the shatter. Beast gets caught in that one, and the Outlaws now have some momentum to work with. Jexter providing the speed and damage from the rest of them will get them onto the point.
Toronto invested a lot there. I mean, they used their own Blizzard, the Symmetra wall, they used their Amp Matrix, and they come out on the losing end of a fight. The Outlaws should be able to build up higher than 44% off the back of this.
TP there, so Meko can rotate if he needs to quickly. Oh, okay, and he's going to have to do it pretty fast. The Defiant out position with a quick teleporter use. Wall thrown up on that left-hand side. They tried to isolate Dante, but Dante turns it around onto agilities. That's not supposed to happen. Beast is going to be in trouble now because there are turrets at the back of the point from the Symmetra. Boomer, I mean, maybe doesn't have to go aggressive there. It doesn't matter. The fight, it's already over.
Doesn't really matter. Just trying to go in, get a charge on the wall, and then put some extra damage down right after. But it's a nice Mei wall to start there from Dante. The teleporter comes in from Toronto Defiant, and he just splits that point straight down the middle with that Mei wall. And Beast turns to go try and get a shatter and doesn't get anything with it. It goes right into the Mei wall.
50-44, Matt. Logix has a wall for this next fight on the point. So does Linksa, though. So get ready. There's going to be a lot of things happening on the point, and it might be a little bit hard to see. So we'll talk you through the action. Agilities, though, goes down to Dante before the fight begins. So we'll have to belay that order a little bit here as the Defiant have to run all the way back. They can't just wait out in the open.
Yeah, this first point's not looking good for Toronto because 70% on the clock. You're not close to a Supercharger. You're not close to a Blizzard. Those are like 2 game-changing ultimates in terms of fight win percentage. They're going to wrap around, but look, now the Supercharger comes out from Meko Maywall as well for agility to try and back out. So now this is going to be more time in favor of the Outlaws, right? Just burning clock, burning clock, burning clock. They're going to have this Blizzard just put the game away.
Every second of stall from the Outlaws makes the Defiant just that little bit more desperate to get onto the point. This is their last chance. Teleporter thrown down. They're looking to try and get to the back of the point, but Kellex fell foul of a hammer swing immediately. He does get a 5-player sound barrier, though, even with the Houston Outlaws shield in play, which is not easy to do. There's a lot of particle effects on the point and particle barriers. Boomer, Shatter, there was a wall there. He still knocks Agilities to the ground, but Agilities picks himself up and has a Blizzard to go. He lets it go straight away. Boomer tries to charge away, but he leaves a safety of that Immortality field now, but Agilities was on his own. He didn't realize the rest of his team were dealing with Meko in the back line, and the Defiant couldn't get there. Houston take the first round of this tiebreaker map, and the Defiant at the end look very messy.
Well, Toronto comes out and they look really good in that first fight. They're able to take the point. Logix is frying, and then after that, it was all Outlaws as they're able to get control of the point. They cycle through their ultimates more effectively. I believe the Deaths talked about that. At halftime, they thought the ult usage was much better from Toronto than Houston, but Houston's really locked in here in the second half. 1 point away from completing that reverse sweep.
Toronto, I mean, they don't really probably know the stats, you know, in terms of how often this has happened from Houston. Regardless, they do not want to give over this map to the Outlaws. The Outlaws can go 4-6 after this series, which is honestly how awful they started off this season. That's a huge bounce back and puts them in contention for things to come later on in the season. Talking playoff action, baby. Right now, though, they're focused on this one. Shields will not last long in the scrutiny of Linksa, doing his best Logix impression from last round. The Kari's Immortality field got used early. It's already gone. Now the Outlaws can use theirs after the fact. Both teams still at 6. Linksa very charged up here, but has to wait for his Reinhardt shield to be available.
They just need to wait for the Rhine, then try and push onto the point. See Logix charged up as well as nice Maywall from Dante. It's going to force them to move a little bit. Positioning, it'll be Toronto at the point first again, just like we saw in the last one.
Oh no! Important distinction to make. Maywalls, unlike other barriers, do not allow Symmetra to charge her beam up. You still use ammunition when you're trying to work them down because they're not shields by definition. Logix there just had to wait. He was quite happy burning through the Reinhardt shield, the Orisa shield, but when that came up, he tried to get around it, which was a moment of risk for Symmetra, just because she doesn't do well out in the open. 21% on the clock here. Rappel has that amplification matrix. He's done a lot of healing in that last fight, but there's a wall thrown up. Rappel didn't use the matrix though,
now
so
another wall.
Need to be a little bit careful. Yep, every wall you've got, throw it in the way. Symmetra's now going to be charging up their beams pretty darn fast, but there's the Shatter Beast. Claims to kill on Muma, but He loses 2 players. They've lost Logix as well, which is their main source of damage in this fight. Now Beast has less of a reason to hold his shield up. He can start swinging. There's no Symmetra to protect, but there is an enemy Symmetra barrier on the point. I don't think Beast can handle this heat.
No, it's a lot of ultimates here towards the end for the Outlaws as they'll be able to take the point. They do get a recapture here, but unlike how when they took the point back on the last one, they had some ultimates still left to be able to cycle through. They don't have anything right now. Is Meko going to get this Supercharger? They're going to have to use Supercharger plus like a potential Earth Shatter coming up to win this next fight, then build up some more ultimates to keep this point in their favor.
Houston started behind the 8 ball here, but looking comfortable now. These Symmetra comps make it really hard to be dug out of a point. Maywall thrown up early. Kellex has that sound barrier here. We'll see the Outlaws really just waiting. There's no reason for them to push forward. Dante getting a little bit of information in main. So he peeks up and now actually has a flanking position. Repel loses his immortality field though. Jax is going to sit up on top of that Maywall and keep an eye on the encroaching Toronto roster. There's the Maywall from the Outlaws though. Nevix gets around it. The Outlaws stay together as 6 and now they've got that amplification matrix. A lot of players able to benefit from that and a shadow from the off angle. Moomer is able to catch Meko. Looking for Nevix there as he tries to charge him down, but Agilities has found 2. Repel, he's in trouble. Nice flank, and that's a 3rd kill from Agilities, keeping his team single-handedly in this round. Logix is in trouble. He can't stop the freeze. Kellex comes through for 2. And Toronto maybe broke into this point a little bit easier than we thought they would.
Yeah, it's a beautiful blizzard from Agilities. Then he picks up 2 kills as he takes a little bit of an off angle. So the Outlaws did get up to 72%. They will change. Linkser will play the McCree here. So they're going to move off of the Sim and play McCree. This is interesting. So Sim can do a lot more damage in the close range. She can build up that charge on the barriers and really start to mow people down. The Outlaws, if they can kind of kite all of that, if they can keep the Symmetra away, they can put down a little bit more damage from range here. So what are they trying to do? It's going to be a TP setup here with Beast going through it, landing a Shatter.
It's absurdly good sound barrier timing from Jexa there, and it means Beast's Gambit essentially blows up in his face. Kind of asked for a bit of use of that Lucio ultimate, and now the Blizzard gets pulled out from Dante, and the Outlaws will be able to take this point back.
Like if you were Toronto, did you need to be that aggressive though?
No. No, I think they're trying to take initiative though. I think they probably realize as well that if that McCree starts to get into a flanking position, they lose. So maybe they're trying to go for a quick fight. But I thought they'd do better in a long engagement with that Symmetra staying alive. They burn the shields down.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, the Outlaws needed to come to you, right? That would have forced your Symmetra into a good position.
Sure. Yeah, I don't get it, Matt. I don't get it. Either way, 94 on the clock. Houston looking for that reverse sweep, and they're close. They can smell it. Here's a Blizzard from Agilities to start the fight off here. They want to go aggressive. Flashbang catches Moomer. He tries to shatter, but Logix definitely sidesteps, and Moomer can't find anything else outside of Agilities. Logix finds another one here. He's trying to keep his team in the fight. He's only got Beast on the point. He needs to get Repel. Another one. 3 from Logix, but he can't touch the point. And the Houston Outlaws complete the reverse sweep. The Toronto Defiant, I mean, they are looking sad as all heck. But the Outlaws get their 4th win of the season. They do it in exciting style. The first time in 2 years that they've got a reverse sweep.
Rough day for Toronto. I mean, they look so good. Like, if you're a Toronto fan, there was a chance you watched the first 2 maps and then you're like, oh, no, we're going to win. I'll turn it off. And then you're going to go back and look at the score and be like, what happened? As Toronto looked amazing the first 2 maps. In control, dominant. And then the Outlaws just come out of halftime and just run through them. A crazy comeback here for the Outlaws.
Look, I love what the Outlaws can provide from their support line, Matt. The fact that they can rotate Raucus out of that, double flex support composition. Jexa comes in and always adds a ton. Not only shot calling, but his aggression. The sound barrier timing from Jexa in that second to last fight is essentially what won the Outlaws that entire map. Their whole team was at risk of getting comboed out. It was looking pretty darn bad. And the sound barrier just at the ideal moment. So he is absolutely on the ball. And I think another one of the reasons why, we're seeing a team like the Outlaws start to show success in this hero pool is the inclusion of Linkser.
Yes, Linkser, he was great today. Able to play the McCree, able to play the Hangzhou. And we saw a lot of times, some of it cleanup, but early fights, the Linkser Hangzhou able to get that first blood, land a headshot. then clean up some other players, as he was fantastic today. It's just great to see him playing again at the highest level, right? I mean, we've seen him in Season 1. Tremendous Widowmaker play.
That's right, and he is going to be our player of the match for this series. And I remember back like a month ago, maybe back when we were still on the road with homestands, and Lynx has said, look guys, I'm not out of the roster because I'm sick. I'm just not very good right now. I don't feel like I'm adding much to the roster. And everyone was like, wow. I mean, everyone speculated that it was purely because of illness. So, you know, people started to realize maybe something's going wrong here. You know, if Linksa, this star player who's been around since the very first Overwatch tournament ever, day one of closed beta, that is years now. That a player like that would just all of a sudden realize he wasn't any good. A lot of people's faith in maybe this whole lineup was shaken. But today he shows up. The Hangzhou looks fantastic. Dante backed him up beautifully on Rialto when it came to the Tracer play, and it all came together not a moment too soon.
Yeah, and I think that's why people were surprised with the tweets from Linkser, because he's so talented. Everyone was like, how can you not be in there helping this team? Like, it seems like this is the exact type of player they were looking for when they were like trying to have Blase play the McCree and other types of stuff, the Widowmaker. And it's good to see Linkser back. He looked great today. Hopefully we see him in the future.
No doubt about it. I'll be pleased about that one if I am the Houston Outlaws. And yeah, I mean, the road ahead, Matt, it doesn't really get much easier. You know, the Outlaws still have a lot of tough matches to win. This division is incredibly competitive. But, you know, coming out of this weekend 2-0 has to be a breath of fresh air for this roster, who knew that expectations for them at the start of the season were extremely low. Even with these new additions, even with star players, Houston are thinking, what are you talking about? We've got Jexa, we've got Mecha coming in here, and you still don't think we're going to win, but now they're starting to show some of that caliber at just the right time. Coming up next, though, Matthew, is probably one of the most exciting matchups from this division. The Philadelphia Fusion will be taking on the Atlanta Reign, and historically, these series have always been really close. The last time these two guys played was like in July last year, and it was 3-2 in favor of Philly, a 5-map series. Atlanta have never won this matchup in regular season play.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
They have a chip on their shoulder. Both these teams are at their zenith right now, and they're looking to continue to show dominance here in the league. That's a match you want to stick around for, ladies and gentlemen, so do that. We'll be back after the break with more Overwatch League. It's going to be Philly versus Atlanta after the break.